Hey everyone, thanks for clicking on my video. This is Rocky here with my top moments from episode 10 of Constantine. So in this episode we get that reinforcement that it definitely does not pay to be Constantine's friend. I mean, in his drunken stupor he placed a legendary, spell on Chas, which actually ended up giving him essentially 47 lives. So now we know why we have Wolverine Chas, right? Now, we also have the medium they visit in this episode, a former friend of Constantine's, who meets him with a shotgun, which fortunately tends to happen with Constantine, it seems. But, and he meets an unfortunate end as well. So, and let's definitely just not get into the whole Newcastle thing, because there's a whole other can of worms there with all the friends there. Though, I gotta say, the part where Chas is kind of blaming John for his marriage breaking apart, honestly, I think that's a bit of misdirection, because honestly, Chas made the choices in the past. Yeah, John, I'm sure, twisted him a little bit, tempted a little bit, because that's what John does, as he likes to essentially use those around him that he needs. But still, it was Chas's choices that, end up causing that rift between him and his ex-wife. So, speaking of Chas, I thought Charles Halford, the actor who portrays Chas, did amazing this episode. We actually got to see a lot of his performance ability and a lot of his acting range. We haven't seen too much of that so far with him. I mean, like I said previously, we learned about his, limited immortality, but we also meet his daughter and his ex-wife, and we see how important family is to him, especially his daughter. I mean, he's always wanted to be there for his daughter, but he's always made other choices, helping John or helping other people, which is noble in and of itself. But, we see that, he will do anything he can for his daughter. And honestly, as a father myself, I can definitely empathize with those feelings, as there's nothing I wouldn't do for my children. Now, with time running out with his daughter, he makes a very bold decision. And it's honestly about the only decision he could make at the time. Plus, you gotta admit, it probably felt pretty good for him to knock John out, right? So, I also, we got an introduction of a new character in this, the character of Felix Faust. And for the most part, I think they kept the character's tone from the comics, as essentially in the comics, Felix Faust was this ancient sorcerer from like 5,000 some odd years ago that was trapped in an alternate dimension. And, his soul was basically released on Earth in kind of modern times. Took possession of another person, but, his power was severely weakened. So he's constantly looking to enhance his power through means of ancient artifacts or by, repeatedly selling his soul. I mean, he tries to sell his soul so much that, it gets to the point where no one really wants it, which is kind of sad. But, I mean, they kept that tone of him wanting power, because in this he's basically a perpetual apprentice that never had his time in the light, basically. So he's been apprentice of all these various dark magicians, and he and John do have a bit of a past together, but because of this rising darkness that's going on with the Brujeria, it's again enhancing anything that's dark magic. So, he finally gets a chance to have real power, and he definitely wants to exert that through against everyone he can, especially John. Now, I'm pretty sure that, they mentioned the spell books, and I'm thinking the spell books he was using, because they have very powerful magic, is either going to be a reference to the books of magic, or more than likely it could be just a reference to the Necronomicon, as he was connected to that in the comics as well. I hope it is the books of magic, as that could definitely open up a whole new world, as it were, or interesting possibilities for them to go with Constantine if we get additional seasons. So I definitely thought that the Faust character was presented, written and acted very well. And as he is a dark magician and he did have possession of quite a few souls at the time of his demise, I wouldn't call him, dead. Characters like that have a way of coming back, and I'm sure we'll see him again if we get those additional seasons. I don't know if we'll see him by the end of season 1. At this point, we've only got 3 more episodes to go. So I did enjoy that, at this point, Zed is finally starting to open up more with John, in particular about her past. She tells him about the Resurrection Crusade and, that her father's basically behind it. Now, I definitely get the feeling that this is kind of going to be where season 1 is going to end. I get the feeling that Constantine, Chas, and Zed are going to have their confrontation with the Resurrection Crusade. And, that relationship between John and Zed, I think, is going to be kind of the key to that. Now, we also see in this episode where Zed pushes herself psychically. And for a moment, she's able to connect with basically the spirit world. And, she gives John a message from his mom. And, the message is simply, that her death was not his fault. And we see where John almost breaks down. He's trying to get more information from Zed, but, she unfortunately is passed out. But we see this look of just, it's almost happiness, sadness, and anguish all twisted into Matt Ryan's face, in particular his eyes. And, it was a very moving scene. As, that's kind of been what's been pushing John to learn magic, is to find his mom's soul, basically, to get some answers and to help her find peace. So, again, this is something I think is going to play out by the end of the season as well. Now, they're going to try and end the season with enough things answered where it's a complete series in case they don't get a second season. But they're going to leave enough, lines and hooks to continue on some additional stories if they're picked up. I do hope they do get picked up. Now, overall, I thought it was very smart of the writers to give us an episode that fills us in a little bit more on Chaz's life and, his history with John a little bit. As I really enjoy when characters are fully written out, as it helps me as a viewer to grow more attached to them, so I actually start caring about that character, so when they experience things like happiness, sadness, trauma, I kind of feel that as well. So that's something myself as a viewer I really enjoy, is, that fully fleshed out characters. So, I really enjoyed this episode for that aspect of it. I know some people were a little, put off by the fact they were focusing on, one of the side characters, but, in my opinion, I think it was a very smart thing to do. Another smart thing was bringing in another DC character that's somewhat known, in the case of Felix Faust. I think this is something that Constantine needs to do. I mean, they basically have access to all the magical DC characters. That's a huge roster they can pull from, be it characters or story ideas, just everything they have to pull from it. They need to start doing more of that, as that's going to make it more accessible to a larger audience, which is what Constantine needs right now. It needs more people watching to get those numbers up so we can get season 2. Now, in particular, I would definitely love for them to bring in Swamp Thing. He'd be kind of a tricky character, but he and John have such a good history in the comics that it would be really great to see that portrayed on screen. A couple other characters I'd personally like to see. Definitely Zatanna, because again, she's someone that John had a very strong relationship, romantic relationship with. And, she's a very powerful magician in her own right. And, this could bring in stories about her father, Zatara. And another, really good villain, I think, would be Morgan Le Fay. She is, insanely powerful sorceress. And, she would be great for Constantine to kind of go up against, especially since we got that, Merlin reference in this episode. So, I'm definitely still behind Constantine as a series, and definitely want to see us get multiple seasons. I hope you guys are still behind the show as well, and doing all you can to help save Constantine, alright? So let me know down in the comments below what your favorite part of this episode was. And if you've enjoyed my video, go ahead and give me a thumbs up, and please subscribe to my channel, and as you will be able to keep up with my weekly reviews of Constantine, as well as the other Marvel and DC television shows coming up, as well as some other reviews I have planned for some additional movies and other things like that. But if you've enjoyed my Constantine reviews, definitely subscribe so you can keep up with them and we can strike up some conversations, alright? And if you have gone ahead and subscribed to my channel already, thank you so very much. I do appreciate you coming on board, and I so hope you're enjoying the videos. Now, all that being said, I hope everyone has a great rest of your day now. Bye.